The most terrifying Halloween of my life started with a knock I wish I'd never answered. It was Halloween, and my parents had roped me into handing out candy while they were out. My mom had gone overboard, buying more candy than anyone could possibly give out in one night. Living at the end of a quiet cul-de-sac meant we hardly got trick-or-treaters, but the few who came knew our place was a jackpot for sweets. I spent the day doing college assignments, half distracted, knowing I'd soon be stuck with mountains of leftover candy. For the next few hours, I dished out candy to the few kids who came knocking. As the night went on, the doorbell stopped ringing, and I finally settled in to watch Game of Thrones. But just when I thought the night was over, the doorbell rang again. It was way past the usual trick-or-treating hours. I went to the door, expecting it to be some late kids. What I saw instead sent chills through me. Standing there was a tall figure dressed in a grotesque clown costume. His mask was hideous, and the man himself was enormous. He waved at me and pointed to a nearly empty brown sack. I didn't open the door. "Sorry, we're out of candy," I said through the glass, quickly slamming it shut and locking it. I hovered near the door, waiting to hear footsteps of him leaving. Instead, the doorbell rang again, and Vito, my little terrier, went ballistic. I took him upstairs and shut myself in my room, hoping the guy would get the hint. But moments later, I heard something that made my heart stop, the sound of the storm door being forced open. I texted my family, but no one replied. Then I heard knocking on the front door, and the doorknob jiggled violently. My anxiety hit its peak. I grabbed my phone and called my brother. He brushed it off, telling me it was probably just a Halloween prank. After what felt like an eternity, the noises stopped. I lay back in bed, trying to relax, but sleep was the last thing on my mind. I was about to drift off when Vito growled softly. I froze, hearing faint noises outside my window. My bedroom was on the second floor, so I wasn't expecting to see anything. But when I pulled back the blinds, the clown was there, his mask pressed against the glass, staring right at me. Screamed and ran out of my room, locking myself in my parents' bedroom while dialing 911. My hands trembled as I explained everything to the operator, pleading for the police to come quickly. Every second felt like an eternity. The police arrived after what felt like an eternity. They found the front door latch broken, just like I feared. But what they found next made my skin crawl. My dad's ladder propped up against the side of the house, leading directly to my bedroom window. I left the house that night to stay with a friend. To this day, I don't know if it was just a sick prank or if something far worse was about to happen. I'm not sure I ever want to know. I never imagined that a Halloween party at my parents' house would lead to a terrifying encounter with a masked intruder hiding in the shadows. I was 18 when I decided to throw a Halloween party at my parents' place. It was supposed to be invite only, meaning no random guests were allowed, something my parents insisted on. They were away for the weekend, giving me the perfect opportunity to host the party, but they made it clear that the house had to be even cleaner after the party was over. I invited around 50 people, and in the end, about 40 showed up. We started the party around sunset, and it took place both in the backyard and on the first floor. My parents had left me some cash to get snacks and drinks, which I set up in the kitchen for everyone. I told them it would be an alcohol-free event, but I'm sure they knew that wasn't true. One of my older friends brought his DJ gear, and once it got dark, the party really took off. Luckily, it seemed like everyone followed the no strangers rule, as I recognized pretty much everyone there. As the night went on, people started drinking more. Eventually, a friend came over to me and asked if I knew the guy in the skeleton bodysuit, who was inside the house. I hadn't seen anyone wearing that, so I decided to go check it out. I asked a few people hanging out in the kitchen if they'd noticed the guy, and someone said they saw him wandering around the house. This made me a bit uneasy, so I asked if anyone knew him, but no one did. I started searching through the house and finally spotted him coming down the stairs. I asked who he was, and he simply said, "Mike?" and claimed he'd just been using the bathroom upstairs. His voice was deep, and he seemed older, with a bigger build, not super fit, just kind of bulky. I asked him who had invited him, and he said someone named Tom. The weird thing was, I didn't know anyone by that name, so I asked if he could take off his mask. He didn't respond, and just walked straight past me and out the front door. After that, I rushed upstairs to make sure nothing had been stolen. All the doors were closed, except the bathroom, and nothing seemed out of place. Once I checked everything, I locked the front door and told a few friends about the whole creepy situation, but no one had a clue who the guy was. After a while, I let it go, and the party started winding down close to midnight. Most of the guests left, except for a few close friends who stayed to help me clean up. When everyone was finally gone, my friend Vinny crashed on the couch downstairs. I got ready for bed, but decided to hang out with Vinny for a bit longer. We ended up watching YouTube videos on the TV and having a few drinks. My little sister, who was 14 at the time, was asleep upstairs. We were trying to keep it quiet, but then we both heard what sounded like footsteps coming from upstairs. I assumed we'd woken my sister, but the footsteps didn't seem to be going toward the bathroom or her room. I went upstairs to check on her, and she was still sound asleep. Confused, I checked my parents' room next, and noticed that the door wasn't shut all the way. That was strange because I remembered making sure it was fully closed earlier. When I gently pushed the door open to peek inside, I saw the guy in the skeleton bodysuit standing there. I knew exactly what I was seeing, and I couldn't believe it. Somehow I managed to keep calm and act as if I hadn't noticed him. I quietly closed the door and headed downstairs to tell Vinny that the intruder was still in the house. Vinny immediately called the police, while I went back upstairs to wake up my sister. I explained the situation and told her to stay quiet as we made our way back downstairs. She stayed calm too, and we met Vinny by the back door. We slipped outside and went to our neighbor's house, where we waited for the police to arrive. By the time the police showed up, the guy had escaped through my parents' bedroom window. The window was wide open, and so was the closet where my dad kept his safe. It was clear the guy knew about the safe and had been trying to either break into it or take it. We never figured out who the man was, but he had to have known about the party and possibly had knowledge of my parents' safe. My sister ended up telling our parents everything, and that was the last time I ever got permission to throw a party at the house.